Hey!
Olá!
Today we're going to be taking a look at and giving our first impressions for the pirate-themed game Morgan's Magic Map. Morgan's Magic Map is a 2 to 4 player grid movement, hand management and set collection game published by Rio Grande Games in 2023. The game is designed by Gian, Andrea, Cappuzzo and features artwork from Harald, Lieske. In Morgan's Magic Map, pirates are competing to find the most of Captain Morgan's treasure through different pieces of the map that were torn by him and thrown to the winds. The game has a suggested playtime of between 30 to 45 minutes, with the game played over a series of turns where player will use map cards to locate where treasure can be found. Play continues until the treasure deck is empty, where the player with the most doubloons, the game's treasure value, wins.
In the box you'll find one treasure board that shows the different levels of depth in which the treasure is buried, 20 map tiles which connected together form the island map you play on, 72 map cards that represent the clues to find the buried treasure, 29 treasure cards, which are the different treasures that can be found while digging, 30 doubloons comprising of 16 red coins worth 1, 5 blue coins worth 5, and 9 yellow coins worth 10. 4 pirate pawns, a red, a blue, a green, and a yellow. 4 player aid cards, one in each player color, and a rule book. The quality of the game is okay. We are divided in the art style, Christian finding it just fine and me liking it more. What lets it down a bit, really, for both of us is the production. The quality of the cards is nothing special and the box itself is very flimsy. The rulebook was also a pain point for us, with big chunks of text that span too far across the page. Learning the game was a bit of a daunting experience because of this, and we think it could have had a much better layout to create a nicer reading experience. We've seen this game being sold for a little bit over 40 euros, and in our opinion, it would not have been worth that. A good point, I should add, is the insert that, despite not being the best one, exists, and so the components don't just fly around too much.
During a player's turn, they can perform the following 4 actions in order. First, the player can change the island map if they want, where they can move one map tile to any new legal position. Next, the player can choose to move their pirate pawn up to 2 positions orthogonally. The terrain on the map doesn't matter here, and the player is free to move across any tiles they have access to. Next, if the player has satisfied the conditions on any cards in their hand, that is, by being the correct distances away from the marked map tiles, then they can choose to play the cards in front of them. This enables future access to bonus actions, as well as deciding how many levels a player can dig to find treasure. Referring to the treasure board, the player can then choose any piece of treasure up to the levels they've dug. And finally, the player will refill their hand back up to 4 map cards. Additionally, there are also bonus actions available on each of the cards, and these become available to use when a card is played in front of them during the dig action. Once a map card's bonus action has been used, it is discarded. Bonus actions include moving an extra island map tile, moving your pirate an extra space, digging down an extra level, or getting some extra doubloons. Once the player is done with their turn, the player on the left goes next, and play will continue until the treasure deck is empty, where the final scores will be totaled. This is a nice game that seems to have been a bit of a hidden gem. It doesn't have all that much activity around it on BoardGameGeek, with hardly any ratings, images, or reviews that we could find.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's fun, I like the theme, it's easy to learn and teach, it's a light game with simple mechanisms.
One thing I did not like was the rulebook. At all. It is easy to teach others, and for them to learn, but I did not like the learning experience myself. Each page I turned, I kind of groaned at how much work it seemed to be, just text and text and text. The line width felt too long, and it just wasn't a fun time.
It should have been in columns instead of one big square of text.
They have some example play illustrations, but we didn't find them all too helpful really.
Or maybe we were discouraged by the text and felt that way because of it. One thing that I would like to mention though is the easily forgotten rules section at the end of the rulebook. That was a nice touch.
We did make our way through the rulebook in the end and managed to play. And I'm happy to say I rather like the game and I'm happy to play it again. The game is actually pretty light on the rules, despite the rulebook itself not feeling that way.
We didn't even need to check any video about it, but to be fair, there aren't many anyway.
With the gameplay itself, I don't have any complaints. Well, perhaps one. I felt it can go on a bit too long. We've played it twice now, and both times I felt the game starting to drag a bit after collecting some treasure. But there are some steps we've discussed that might remedy that, such as removing one type of treasure card from the deck. With 3 or 4 players though, this wouldn't be such an issue, I guess.
Personally, I didn't feel that way. I was okay with the game's length.
I do like the gameplay flow. The choices that open up when you decide what treasure you want and what you're willing to give up to dig for it. At most, you can only dig down 4 spaces, and from playing map cards alone, that's tricky to achieve. But then you can also use some of the played cards as bonus actions, either the shovel, or by exchanging 2 other bonus actions of the same type.
And sometimes it is worth it to get rid of some of your played cards to dig deeper, so you get more valuable treasure, like get 1 treasure that is worth 6 or 8 instead of 2.
The treasure board has a cool way of restocking and keeping the higher value treasure at the bottom, so if you want it, you have to work for it. There is also a bonus of 6 doubloons to whoever has the most of any type of treasure, which is something to keep in mind.
And you need to keep up with what the other player takes during the game because the collected treasure is supposed to be kept face down.
The doubloons don't seem too important while playing. As per the rules, we are supposed to pay the other player a coin if we pass or end on their tile. But in a 2-player game, this hasn't happened to us yet.
Yes, so far we have been able to avoid each other's path.
Yeah, I really would be interested to see how this one plays at a larger player count. The map tiles will be moving around a lot more, and there might be more fighting over the treasure pieces.
I like it when I manage to use 3 or all 4 cards in one turn. You need to try to optimize the turn to play as many cards as you can, not only to be able to dig deeper and so get the most valuable treasure, but also to have at your disposal more bonus actions. To either get more doubloons or swap them for actions, like 1 more dig, 1 more move in a map, 1 more map tile that you can move. Oh, and I like that there are different amounts of treasure types, making you sort of fight for them.
Yeah, you will have to think if it's worth to go for the treasure sets that have more pieces but lower value, or seek out the high value but lower quantity pieces. I'm not overly impressed with the production quality, unfortunately. The box itself seems to be some of the most flimsy cardboard I've seen in a board game, and the cards aren't amazing either. Had we paid full price for this, I wouldn't have been very happy.
Yes, we bought it with about 40% discount for Christmas. We actually found it because of that. We were looking for a Christmas present for ourselves and discovered it in the discount section.
Yeah, we found it kind of odd how there isn't much content on this game, and so we did take a risk getting it. Having played it though, it does seem to be a case of a good game missing folks' radar.
I guess with so many new board games coming out each year, you would get some that would go unnoticed. But yes, it's a really fun game in my opinion.
Yeah, mine too. Production issues aside, it is a good game to play, and we'd recommend it.
We do!
Just maybe on sale. So that wraps up our video on the game Morgan's Magic Map, a fun and piratey grid movement game for 2 to 4 players. Thank you for watching. We've been Board Game Beans.
You've been you.
Have a lovely day and
Happy gaming!
Yar, me mateys!